In the modern dating world, one of the most confusing experiences a man can face is sudden silence. Everything seems to be going well. Messages flow back and forth, laughter fills the air during your meetings, and a sense of possibility begins to grow. Then, without warning, she disappears. No text, no call, no explanation, just absence. At first, the silence feels like a puzzle. Maybe she is busy. Maybe her phone is broken. Maybe something unexpected happened. Days pass, then weeks, and the truth becomes clear. She has withdrawn completely, leaving you in a state of confusion and doubt. What many men fail to realize is that this disappearance, often called ghosting, has become a defining feature of modern relationships. It's not just about avoiding confrontation. It's about testing boundaries, exercising control, and managing options in a world where attention is a form of currency. Then, just when the silence is settled into something permanent, she reappears. A casual message appears on your screen. "Hey, how have you been?" No mention of the disappearance, no apology, just a return as if nothing happened. This moment is not trivial. It is not just a chance to pick up where things left off. It is a test of respect, boundaries, and self-worth. How you respond will not only define what happens next with her, but will also reveal how you view yourself. The first mistake most men make is celebrating her return. They interpret her message as proof that she missed them, that she finally recognized their value, or that she has decided to take things seriously. This interpretation feels comforting, but it is rarely accurate. Her return often has little to do with you and everything to do with her circumstances. Psychologists have long noted that when people lose a source of validation, they seek to replace it quickly. If she disappeared, it is likely because she had other options or priorities. If she returns, it may be because those options failed, or because her need for attention has grown stronger. The timing says more about her than it does about you. But what matters is not why she disappeared. What matters is how she comes back. When someone returns to your life as if nothing happened, they are sending a clear message. I do not believe I need to be accountable for how I treated you. This casual approach is not neutral. It is a way of rewriting the past and testing whether you will accept disrespect without protest. To understand this dynamic, consider the idea of relational precedent. In law, once a judgment has been made in one case, it influences future cases. In relationships, once you accept a certain type of behavior, you set a precedent that can be used again. If she disappears without explanation, and you welcome her back warmly, you've established a precedent. Disappearing carries no consequences. This is why the moment of her return is critical. It is not just about whether she will stay this time. It is about whether you will train her and yourself to accept or reject a cycle of disrespect. High-value men understand this instinctively. They do not rush to reward inconsistency with attention. They recognize that respect is built through accountability, and that anyone who wants a place in their life must treat their time and energy with care. The difficult truth is that attraction is not sustained by kindness alone. It is sustained by boundaries, standards, and the quiet confidence of a man who refuses to compromise his dignity. When she returns, she is testing whether those qualities exist in you. How then should a man respond? The answer depends not on strategy, but on principle. The principle is simple. Respect is non-negotiable. If someone wants to re-enter your life, they must acknowledge how they left it. This does not require anger, argument, or emotional outbursts. It requires calm clarity. Simple response. I noticed you disappeared for a while. What happened? This places the responsibility where it belongs. It shows that you are open to conversation but unwilling to ignore the past. If she reacts defensively, minimizes her behavior, or refuses to engage, you have your answer. She is not capable of the respect you require. If, on the other hand, she acknowledges her disappearance, offers an explanation, and shows genuine effort to rebuild trust, you may consider whether she deserves another chance. The key is that she must do the work of repairing the breach. You cannot repair it for her. This approach is not about punishing her. It is about protecting yourself. The man who accepts casual disrespect will always be treated casually. The man who expects accountability sets the stage for genuine connection. The moment of her return is not a gift. And how you handle it will reveal not only who she is, but who you are. When a woman disappears without warning, It's one of the most destabilizing experiences a man can face. Everything seemed fine, maybe even exciting, and then silence replaced her presence. At first, it feels like a mystery to solve. The mind looks for explanations, trying to connect dots that may not even exist. Maybe she was busy. Maybe something happened. Maybe she just needed space. But as the days stretch into weeks, the reality becomes harder to ignore. She has chosen to step away, and the choice was made without the courtesy of explanation. In that silence, doubt grows. Many men turn inward, questioning what they might have done wrong. Did they say something careless? Did they not give enough attention? Or maybe they gave too much. This is the trap of ghosting. It convinces you that the absence is your fault, when in truth, her vanishing often has very little to do with you. Modern dating runs on a different fuel than traditional courtship. It runs on attention. In a world where messages, likes, and conversations are constant, people learn to keep several connections in play at once. For some, the easiest way to manage those connections is to disappear from one and focus on another. When she vanishes, it is usually not because of one wrong move you made, but because another option became more appealing, or because she wanted to test whether you would chase after her. And then comes the moment of return. Out of nowhere, a message appears. A simple, "Hey, how have you been?" No explanation, no apology. Just a casual re-entry, as if nothing happened. It's almost surreal, because it ignores the very thing that caused confusion in the first place. Her absence, that return, is not innocent. It is not neutral. It carries meaning. When someone comes back without acknowledging the silence, they're sending a very clear signal. They don't feel they owe you accountability. They want access to your attention without having to respect your time. Most men don't recognize this. Instead, they feel something else. Relief. The relief that comes from seeing her name light up their phone again. That relief is powerful because it calms the fear of rejection. It feels like proof that she missed you, that you mattered enough for her to come back. But relief is dangerous because it blinds you to the reality of her behavior. When relief drives your response, you welcome her back too quickly. You reward inconsistency, and in doing so, you teach her that disappearing has no consequence. Curiosity is another trap. The unanswered question of why she vanished can keep a man hooked. When she returns, curiosity takes over, and instead of holding her accountable, he engages with her just to seek answers. But curiosity works against him. She doesn't need to explain herself if he is already giving her his attention freely. That need for closure becomes her leverage. Then there is validation. When she reappears, it feels like confirmation that you mattered, that she thought about you enough to come back. But in most cases, her return isn't about you at all. It's about her needs. It's maybe the man she left you for disappointed her. Maybe her other sources of attention dried up. Maybe she felt lonely. Message says more about her current circumstances than about your value. The most dangerous trap of all is hope. When she reappears, many men begin to believe that this time things will be different. That her return signals a new beginning, a shift in her feelings, or a realization of what she lost. Hope makes them overlook the pattern. Hope convinces them to excuse her behavior, to minimize the silence, to welcome her back in the name of possibility. But hope, when not rooted in reality, is nothing more than an invitation to repeat the same cycle again and again. The key is to shift perspective. Instead of asking why she left, ask what her return, without explanation, really means. Instead of asking whether she missed you, ask whether she respects you enough to acknowledge how she treated you. The focus should not be on solving her mystery, but on observing her respect. So why do women come back after disappearing? The psychology is often simple. Sometimes it's because the attention they were receiving elsewhere has faded, and they return to the source they know will respond. Sometimes it's because an alternative option failed, and they want to see if you remain available. Sometimes it's nothing more than boredom or loneliness. And sometimes it is a calculated move to see whether they can disappear and reappear without consequence, to test if you will allow them to dictate the rhythm of the connection. That casual reappearance is not just contact, it is an attempt to set the frame. If you accept her return warmly, you teach her that she can come and go as she pleases. You establish a precedent where your time, your feelings, and your presence can be treated as disposable because you will always be waiting. This is why the moment of her return is so critical. It is not about whether she stays this time. It is about whether you are willing to maintain standards. Respect is not something you beg for. It is something you require through your actions. When you accept casual disrespect, you invite more of it. You calmly but firmly expect accountability. You set the stage for either genuine connection or decisive closure. And this is where true value lies. The man who expects acknowledgement of her behavior is not being harsh or unkind. He is being clear. He is communicating that his time matters, that his presence is not guaranteed, and that his standards are not negotiable. Whether she meets those standards or fails them reveals everything about her character, but also about yours. The way you respond when she reappears sets the tone for everything that follows. It is a moment of truth, a test of self-respect. Most men, blinded by relief or hope, rush back in with eagerness, as though the silence never happened. But every response carries meaning. Every reaction teaches her how she can treat you in the future. And if you let her slip back in casually, you have just confirmed that disappearing is a behavior without consequence. One option, often underestimated, is silence. Choosing not to respond at all communicates more than words ever could. It sends the message that her reappearance does not automatically grant her access to you. Ignoring her isn't about cruelty. It's about protecting your energy from someone who treated it carelessly. Silence is sometimes the clearest boundary. It tells her, without argument, that disappearing has consequences. If she can vanish for weeks, you can just as easily move on without looking back. Another option is delay. When she returns, you are under no obligation to answer instantly. A delayed response mirrors the pace she set when she vanished. It shows that your world doesn't stop when she decides to resurface. By waiting, whether for hours or days, you reclaim control of your time. You remind her that your life is full, that you are not a man waiting by the phone. That small act of patience shifts the power dynamic. Instead of rewarding her inconsistency with immediate attention, you demonstrate that your attention has value because it is not freely given. Some men prefer directness. Instead of ignoring or delaying, they respond by calmly pointing out what happened. A simple acknowledgement you disappeared for a while without explanation is not an attack. It is a standard. It tells her that you notice the silence, that you value communication, and that casual returns are not how you operate. Directness forces a choice. Either she accepts responsibility and explains, or she reveals that accountability is not part of her character. In both cases, you win because you have clarity. Then, there is the approach of casual disinterest. Responding briefly, politely, but without investment, can be just as powerful as silence. When you mirror her casual energy, you take away the satisfaction of knowing she still holds power over you. You don't chase. You don't ask questions. You don't offer warmth. You treat her return as what it is, a casual message from someone who didn't value you enough to stay consistent. If she wants more, she will have to earn it. What matters most is not the specific tactic, but the principle behind it. The principle is this: you do not reward disrespect with enthusiasm. You do not give your energy to someone who treats it as disposable. You do not compromise your standards for the temporary comfort of attention. Every response you give is a message about your worth. If your message is that her behavior is acceptable, she will repeat it. If your message is that your time requires respect, she will either rise to the standard or remove herself. Either way, you protect your dignity. It is tempting to see her return as an opportunity. Maybe she realized her mistake. Maybe she missed you. Maybe there's a second chance waiting. But what you must understand is that her return without acknowledgement is not an invitation to romance. It is a test of your boundaries. She wants to know if you are a man who accepts whatever is offered, or if you are a man who requires respect. Your reaction in that moment defines the relationship moving forward. If you welcome her back without question, you set the precedent that she can disappear again. If you respond with calm strength, you set the precedent that your time and energy are not free. The choice is not about her, it is about you. Think of it this way. Relationships are like contracts. Every interaction establishes terms. When she disappears without explanation, she breaks those terms. When she returns casually, she is attempting to rewrite the contract to her advantage. Your response determines whether that contract is accepted. If you agree, you have entered into an arrangement where her comfort is more important than your dignity. If you decline, You have reaffirmed that respect is non-negotiable. This is why so many men struggle with cycles of inconsistency. They mistake her return for reconciliation, when in reality, it is just another round of the same pattern. She disappears. She comes back, and he lets her in, without question. Over time, the pattern erodes his self-respect. He invests more and more, while she invests less. The balance collapses, and what remains is not love, but manipulation. But when a man resists, when he pauses before answering, when he requires acknowledgement, when he maintains his standards, the dynamic changes. Suddenly, she must decide whether she respects him enough to treat him properly. If she doesn't, he walks away with his dignity intact. That dignity is worth more than any temporary affection, because in the end, relationships are not sustained by attention alone. They are sustained by respect. How you handle her return is not about punishing her, it is about protecting yourself. It is about showing that you are a man who values his time, his energy, and his boundaries. And when you live by those values, you attract people who are capable of respecting them. Those who cannot will naturally fall away, and that is not a loss, it is freedom. Every decision you make when she comes back tells a story. It is not only about her perception of you, it is about your perception of yourself. The way you respond becomes a mirror reflecting your standards, your self-respect, and your understanding of what you deserve. And this is why the moment carries so much weight. Because whether you realize it or not, your choice is teaching her hand, teaching yourself what role you will play in the relationship dynamic. When a man answers instantly, with warmth and excitement, he might think he's showing kindness. But what she often sees is something else: predictability, eagerness, and a lack of boundaries. To her, it looks like he values her presence more than he values his own self-respect. His relief exposes his dependence. She knows she can vanish and reappear without consequence, because his emotions betray his willingness to accept whatever crumbs of attention she offers. This doesn't always happen consciously. She might not be sitting there calculating her power over him in words, but subconsciously, her instincts register it. A man who does not protect his dignity cannot protect her either. A man who allows himself to be treated as an afterthought sends a message that he is not strong enough to stand on his own. Attraction fades not because he lacks qualities, but because he has shown he lacks standards. On the other hand, when a man takes his time, when he shows that her sudden reappearance is not his priority, something shifts. She feels it. He is not begging for attention, and that absence of need is magnetic. By delaying, by maintaining composure, by refusing to jump at her first word, he demonstrates independence. He communicates that his life is not a waiting room for her convenience. That subtle signal control over his emotions, control over his reactions, is more powerful than any grand gesture. Directness carries its own weight. When a man calmly acknowledges the gap, when he says with composure that he noticed her disappearance, he makes it impossible for her to ignore the reality. He brings honesty to the surface, without anger, without drama, simply by naming what happened. That clarity is rare, and it commands respect. Because very few men are willing to risk losing a woman by holding her accountable. But those who do instantly distinguish themselves. They show that their self-respect is not negotiable. Some men fear that being direct will drive her away, and sometimes it will. But here's the truth. If honesty pushes her away, she was never willing to meet your standards in the first place. Losing her is not a loss. It is a filter that removes someone incapable of respect. By being direct, you don't lose value. Affirm it. Silence, too, has a psychological effect that is often underestimated. When she sends that casual message and is met with nothing at all, she is forced to confront the consequences of her actions. Silence is the absence of reward. It breaks the cycle of inconsistency by refusing to play the game. For many women, silence is more unsettling than confrontation because it cannot be argued with. There is no leverage to be gained, no validation to be extracted, just the realization that she no longer has the power she once assumed. The consequences of each choice extend beyond her. They shape you. Every time you accept disrespect, you chip away at your own confidence. Confirm to yourself that you will tolerate behavior you know isn't right, and every time you hold your ground, every time you enforce your boundaries, you strengthen your identity. You become the man who lives by principle rather than by impulse. That reinforcement is powerful because it transforms how you carry yourself not just with her, but with everyone. And this is the deeper truth. Women are not only responding to what you say to them, they are responding to what you have already said to yourself. A man who values his time, who respects his energy, who refuses to compromise his standards for temporary comfort, radiates that strength in every interaction. He doesn't need to prove it with words. His choices prove it for him. So, when she reappears casually, the situation is not only about her test, it is about yours. You're willing to trade self-respect for attention. Are you willing to exchange dignity for the possibility of temporary affection? Or will you maintain the harder path, the one that may cost you her presence in the moment, but preserves your integrity in the long term? Because here's the paradox. The very thing men fear most losing, her is often the only thing that can secure genuine respect. When you show that you are not afraid to walk away, you shift the balance entirely. Suddenly, she is the one who must evaluate whether she has done enough to remain in your life. She is the one who must decide whether to rise to your standards. That reversal only happens when you are willing to let go of the outcome. Respect is not built on giving someone everything they want. It is built on showing that you will not abandon your values to keep them. Love without respect is dependency. Tension without accountability is exploitation. And a connection without standards is not a relationship, it is a transaction. The question then is not how to win her back. The question is how to win yourself back. Because when you choose self-respect, you win twice. If she cannot meet your standards, you walk away with your dignity intact. If she does, you enter a relationship where respect forms the foundation. Both outcomes are victories. At the heart of this entire situation lies one principle that separates strong men from weak ones. Outcome: independence. It is the ability to act with clarity, to set standards, and to enforce them without becoming attached to what happens afterward. This is where most men stumble. They know they should hold the line, but fear whispers that if they do, they will lose her forever. And yet the irony is that by clinging to her, by chasing, by surrendering dignity for comfort, they create the very loss they fear. Outcome independence is not coldness. It is not indifference to people. It is the recognition that your value does not depend on any single relationship. It is the understanding that you are the source of your own worth, and no one else has the power to define it. When you live with that truth, her silence, her disappearance, her casual return, none of it shakes your foundation. You can welcome her respectfully or let her go completely, because your life is already full without her validation. This mindset is magnetic, not because it manipulates her, but because it is rare. Most men fold under pressure. They rush to respond. They plead for explanations. They mistake her presence for proof of their worth. A man who doesn't need her to feel complete stands apart immediately. He is attractive because he is whole. He is respected because he is unmovable. And in a world where so many men chase, the man who doesn't is the man she remembers. It is important to see her return not as a gift, but as information. Information about her consistency. Information about her character. Information about her respect for you. Every interaction teaches you something if you're willing to listen. When she vanishes without explanation, it tells you how she handles disconnection. When she returns without acknowledgement, it tells you how she handles accountability. And when she responds to your standards, it tells you whether she is capable of the kind of respect required for anything meaningful. This is not about bitterness or resentment. It is about clarity. A woman who disappears and reappears casually may not be malicious. She may not even be conscious of the patterns driving her behavior. But what matters is not her intention, it is her impact. And her impact on you has already provided a lesson. Your attention is valuable, and not everyone deserves it. For men who understand this, everything changes. They stop asking, "Why did she leave?" Start asking, "What does her behavior reveal about her capacity to respect me?" They stop thinking, "What if I lose her?" and start thinking, "What happens to me if I lose myself?" The focus shifts from chasing her presence to protecting their dignity, and that shift is where power begins. Because the truth is simple: she cannot respect you, she cannot love you. Respect is the soil from which desire grows. Without it, attraction withers. Without it, affection turns to obligation. Without it, what remains is not a relationship, but a slow erosion of your self-worth. That is why every man must learn to demand respect before he seeks love. because without respect, love cannot last. The beauty of this principle is that it is not limited to women or dating or romance. It is the foundation of every connection in your life. Friends, colleagues, family, each relationship tests the same truth. Do you value yourself enough to set standards? You enforce them with calm strength? You accept only what aligns with your dignity? When you live this way, you stop chasing validation. You stop bargaining for scraps of attention. Stop fearing the silence. And in that freedom, you discover something extraordinary. The people who remain are those who truly deserve you. So when she comes back, remember this. You are not being offered a second chance. You are being given a test. A test of your patience. A test of your clarity. A test of your self-respect. Pass that test, and you either gain a partner who is capable of respecting your standards, or you clear space for someone better to enter. Fail it, and you trap yourself in cycles of inconsistency, always hoping for change that never comes. The choice is yours. You can reply instantly, pouring energy into someone who vanished without care, and teach her that your attention is cheap. Or you can pause, breathe, and act from strength. You can require acknowledgement, or offer silence, or move forward without her. Whatever you choose, let it come from self-respect, not fear, because fear keeps you tied to the wrong people. Respect frees you to find the right ones. In the end, how you handle her return is not about her at all. It is about you. It is about the man you choose to be when tested. Will you be the man who gives away his value for the chance of temporary comfort? Or the man who protects his dignity at all costs? That answer defines not only this moment, but every relationship you will ever have. If this exploration has opened your eyes to the psychology behind these disappearing and returning games, consider subscribing. There is far more to uncover about how relationships truly work, how respect is built, and how to maintain the strength that keeps attraction alive. Because the truth is this: your standards are not barriers that push people away. They are gates that protect your peace. And when you learn to keep those gates strong, the only people who enter are those who truly belong.